I'm in the market for a cap sprayer, and I'm curious, do you have any ideas on which one I should get? That's right, a cap sprayer, which is a high volume, low pressure versus an airless. Hi, I'm Ron Paulk, designer of the Paulk Workbench, the Total Station, and the Smart Wood Shop. So I've been shopping around for a cap sprayer. Thank goodness for YouTube. I love it that people take the time to put up videos and talk about these things. And I'm pretty much 90% sure of which one I want to get, and I'll show that one to you. But I wouldn't mind some feedback from those that have more experience. I am not a painter by trade. If it comes to woodwork, whether it's framing, siding, building cabinets, doing finish work, I am so comfortable in working with wood and with saws and sanding and those things. But when it comes to putting on finishes, it's something that I have to work really hard at. I have an airless for painting, siding and drywall and things. The ones that there's no air involved. You put the siphon right in your paint bucket and you spray away, and it puts on a lot of material. It atomizes really well. It puts a lot into the air. In fact, I think a good one on the top end, you get about 60% of material, the paint and the finish on your product, and about 40% is wasted, and that's good. Sometimes there's low as 40% material on, depending on the fan and the tip. Our sprayer is a smaller version. It does just as well as the bigger ones, except it only push one gun. You get into the bigger ones, and then you can really be productive, have multiple guns, multiple painters spraying. But we just used one gun, and I would spray. And then my wife, we'd be all suited up. I would be spraying, and she'd be right behind me with a big super fab roller, those big wide rollers on a stick, and she'd be rolling it. So we get a nice job on the drywall. And when we paint houses, in the drywall in particular, we're putting on the two layers of primer and then a final coat. And so we have to paint the house basically 3 times. And so it's a pretty labor-intensive affair. We're usually exhausted and never want to do it again. Now, for probably a decade, we were doing between 10 and 30 houses a year. And when we got to that point, we weren't doing hardly any work, definitely not painting. We were subbing all of that out, between pushing paperwork and scheduling and dealing with clients and ordering materials and keeping schedules. You just didn't have time to do that kind of stuff. But we have decided a couple of years ago to slow down, and we are planning on either doing a spec or two, or most likely doing flips, and we'll be back to painting ourselves. And we're looking at the potential of buying our cabinets out, either ready to install or maybe online. We're looking at some options where we can buy the boxes not assembled and put them together and paint them. Some of them are pre-finished, so if we go that route, we might paint them in place. But anyway, the bottom line is that, putting on stuff with a brush, and I did my stand-up desk, and just this thing was so much work doing it with multiple coats with a brush, and I definitely want a sprayer. Now, I have had a conversion sprayer, which is basically you can spend all your money on the gun, which is nice. You can spend a lot less money. And it converts, in gun with a couple controls, and they work really well. So you've got this gun with a hose, and you can really move it around nicely. The problem with them is that you need a fairly large compressor, and not only a big motor, like I think 3 to 5 horsepower minimum, but you also need a big tank. And I think on the small end, you need like a 20 gallon. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go with the cap sprayer, which basically is a turbine. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So this is a Titan, and this is the one I think I'm gonna go with. It's not an inexpensive affair. It's a Titan 115, it's their top one. It is a 6-stage. Stages are basically the number of fans they have, and you can go really inexpensive, like $150, and get a single stage. But Rockler has them, and Harbor Freight for $100. And they're all plastic, and you're just not going to get the finish, and they're not going to hold up, and actually they'll be the most expensive one over time. This one's it's on the other end. This one I think is around $1,450 US is about the best price I've found. But it's a system. Not only does it have everything you need when you buy it, a really nice gun and the hoses and things, but it's a part of a system. So you can add a remote 2-quart pot with a whip, so which is really nice because with these guns here, with the 1-quart pot on them, you know, getting into tight spaces is tough, and you can't tip them all the way over. Whereas if you've got a 2-quart pot, number one, you've got more material, and then the whip, you can turn the gun upside down. And so this has that option. You use the same gun actually. You just disconnect the 1-quart pot, and the siphon hose goes into there, and then you just can hold the 2-quart pot, or you can hang it on your belt and just move around with it. So that's really nice. It also has an option, and I haven't found them in here yet to show you, but basically they have an attachment that plugs in here and gets its power. There's a little plug in here, and you can actually siphon from big, big supply, like a big 5-gallon bucket, in through this, and it works almost like an airless, but with the control of a HVLP. And I doubt I would end up doing that, but I think I'm definitely going to go with the 2-quart pot setup, which is another about $300. But then you use this gun and that, and you're set up. So for under $2,000, I can get into the system. And if I want to grow it, there's other guns. There's siphon feeds. You know, when you're doing those $100 for a couple ounces of material, like in the automotive industry and stuff, you use a little siphon gun, a little siphon cup, and they've got a gun that'll do that. So. But the main thing about this one that I like is it's a 6-stage. I think it's the only 6-stage on the market. There may be some others. Fuji makes, I think it's Fuji that makes some good ones. And the Wood Whisperer, if you don't follow him, he does really nice. He's got a nice channel. I'll put a link in the description down below to the Wood Whisperer. He likes those. And I think they have a 5-stage. That's a really nice looking setup. But the guy that I follow when it comes to painting is the Idaho Painter. And I'll put a link to this video. This video here is actually the one that I think has most likely 90% sure settled me on getting this particular Titan. He goes through all these different guns you can use with it and explains it. And if you get a chance, go over and just watch this video and subscribe to his channel. Really, really good. Just like I do woodwork and efficiency and portable carpentry is kind of my specialty and something that I've been doing for decades. He's a painter, and he's very articulate and does a really nice job. I'm all said and done, I'm gonna drop about $2,000 into it, up on the higher end of what I would, could spend, but I'm looking at the long haul, and I think that over a decade that this is going to pay for itself and be free, basically, because one, it'll hold up and last. I'll be able to do the finishes that I want. They'll atomize well. This is 11.5 psi. I haven't been able to find another turbine that produces that, and again, a 6-stage. So I haven't found another product that compares with this. So if you know about one, let me know. But again, when I buy tools, I look at tools as an investment. And, when I'm going HVLP, when you've got materials, and if you look at, spraying out, they talk about an example in that video I was just showing you, where, they sprayed with a airless, this iron fence, and they went like 15 gallons, and it wasn't inexpensive material. And their comparison was if they would have used the cap sprayer, had the caps for this particular one, they'd have used about 4 gallons. So you can see just in material savings over time, it's going to pay for it over a cheaper. And again, that's why I'm Festool, because it's a system. That's why my tools, I know a lot of people say, man, they're just too expensive. I don't see the value. But the value becomes over time, the quality of your work, and also being in a system that works together and just makes you more efficient. So if you use less material, if you use less time, you factor those into the tool choices, and then what the initial outlay, recognize that the initial outlay, it's painful, but you amortize it over time, and then the $100 ones really end up costing you a lot more than this and reduce quality of work. How long? Know of something better that I'm not seeing, let me know. And also, if you've got some better information on a conversion gun, I love that idea of putting all the money into a gun and the compressor, working. But I just don't, I've thought about an auxiliary air tank as another option. So going with my compressor, or maybe a little more powerful compressor, but then going with an auxiliary air tank. But I'd have to make room for it, or I'd have to use it portable and move it out. So a lot of good options out there. That's the good thing is that I'm not struggling with finding something. There's a lot of great options. And I just want to get the right one and end up with something that will help me be more efficient and produce better work in the end. Hey, if you like these videos, be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe. Most important, share the channel with others. And you guys have a great day. Thanks for taking the time to watch.